Greetings, everyone. And just as it says three, my earphone dropped. You guys know that's been following me. Happens all the time when I go live. I don't know what it is about these beats. Anyway, I am so excited. You guys know I have been on hiatus for several months. Yes, had to take a break for several reasons, but one of the main reasons is because I wanted to make sure that my next lineup of guests were powerful. So I was out doing some pitching, some connecting, and I am so excited. And I know that all of you, when this is done, first of all, you're going to be able, okay, you're going to be like, okay, what just happened? Because you're not going to be able to breathe because you have been taking so many notes after this one, and you're definitely going to catch up in part three. Excuse me, part two, when we have this on the third Tuesday. So I am not going to go on anymore. I'm going to jump right into my guest. We're going to be talking about successfully navigating rooms as Black and Brown women. In this first session, we're going to lay the foundation around what that means. So here we go, audience. This is the phenomenal Alexandria Butler, widely known as Lexi B. You see it there on the screen. She is a sought after figure in the tech industry, renowned for her transformative work and exceptional ability to cultivate executive leadership and promote workplace equity. An extensive background in prominent Silicon Valley, Tech Lexi B elevated her mission of empowering professionals to new heights by launching a podcast, Sit with Lexi B. This groundbreaking repository serves as a powerful medium for celebrating and discussing the transferable skills that are essential for building the professional life individuals aspire to have. Lexi B's reputation as a sought after speaker and workplace culture commentator has earned her numerous invitations to share her profound insights and wisdoms with organizations of all sizes, as well as prestigious publications such as Tenable, Pearson, Diginomica, CBS, and more. Bringing her unique blend of entertainment and expertise to the table, Lexi B is poised to revolutionize the way corporate entities approach professional growth and development. Lexi B, thank
Hello,
you
how are
so
you?
much for having me. Thank you for joining me on
Oh my
Being
gosh,
Brown at Work Live.
it is an honor. How are you? How are you?
I am well. I am well. I'm better now. I'm so thankful for the connection. I
Yeah,
got connected to you through a mutual friend, a
yeah,
previous guest on the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
And I'm phenomenal because I've got you tonight and we are going to jump in. I already see somebody waving at us that's connected on YouTube in
Yeah.
the chat. You know, Lexi, let's just jump right in. When we talk about successfully navigating rooms, I mean, what's that even mean? Navigating a room.
Um, I think that we as black bodies, brown bodies, anybody with a color in in capitalism, we've been taught that what it means is to not be yourself and to clothe so many layers and spices of you that you be kind of become other. And my concern with that definition is that while I do think at one point that was the definition and how it was practiced, and so we've learned from our ancestors in order to survive, I realize that as a dark skinned black woman, I can do and behave all the things you want me to do to blend into this room, and literally, because of what I look like visually, I will never blend in.
Mm,
And so I
mm,
had to learn that at
yes,
a very early age that no matter what I do or how I do it, I stand out because I am usually the only person in the room. And so my life battle, if you will, even as a very young child, has always been, well, if I'm going to stand
yes.
out regardless, how do I want to control that narrative?
There you go. Exactly. And I share that with you also as a dark skinned black
Yeah.
woman and knowing early on, agree that I stood out and even through school, whether at elementary school, high school, college, and then the industry I chose. And it probably wouldn't have mattered what industry I chose, frankly,
Hmm.
any industry. I would have, like you, stood out. Absolutely, absolutely love your definition of that.
Hmm.
And if you could peel back that onion a little bit more for me. So that's what it means. We have to be other than. what's happening in these spaces that's driving that need, that uh, thing, let's call it
Mhm.
a thing, of requiring us to be other. Let's really peel that back and talk about that.
Well, I think that we have to talk about the history of it, how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when
Mm-hmm.
more
Mm-hmm.
people really understand, identify, acknowledge, and speak the history of how we got here with that, it's easier to
Yes.
find a solution. And how we got here was that, and I'm speaking very generally, is that
Sure.
American capitalism was built on the backs of a lot of groups of people of color, including my own. I am a descendant of phenomenal and amazing militant ancestors who
Mm-hmm.
came from the enslavement of Black bodies from West Africa, right? When you look
Yes.
at how American society was created and you look at how American money, how America became, well, how modern America became a wealthy place from a financial standpoint, as an entity, as a government, as a business, that stems from capitalism. And so when you look
Yes.
at that from the beginning of that creation, it was a certain person that looked a certain way, wearing a certain type of clothing, going to a certain type of school, and connecting and socializing with certain people
Yep.
that that really created what we now define as what is bad in corporate spaces, what is oppression, what is requiring people to change themselves, what is code
Yep.
switching. And that's where it
Yep.
started. And then what happened was over time with our financial system and how it evolved and how what people in the rooms evolved and what laws and politics, how we made people on paper free, which is a separate conversation, but on paper
Right. Right.
free.
Right.
um,
Right.
some of us started trickulating into those rooms and realized very quickly that even though you're on paper free, in practice, how we perform and behave, this not so much. So if I align myself to the behaviors and the performance, what I look like, how I talk, with
Mm-hmm.
the majority of the people in the room that really fit that prototype of what success looks like in corporate America,
Yes.
then
Yes.
maybe I will have a better chance of going up that ladder. What I'm very
Yes.
excited about, though, is in the last 10 to 20 years, it has been publicly defied. And we are now questioning, what does it look like to be successful
Yes.
in corporate
Yes.
America?
Exactly,
I would
Lexi.
argue the world is so great, forget corporate America, but just in corporate Western society, what is success actually look like? And I think that a lot of people are now denouncing those old
Yes.
world stereotypes. And then I would also argue, while denouncing what it looks like to be professional and climb the corporate ladder, what a lot of workers are also doing is actively deciding within themselves, what does it look like to be successful
For,
within me?
for me,
Because maybe
yes.
I don't want to be a VP and maybe I don't want to be a CEO.
Exactly.
And what if that is okay? And I also find that
Exactly.
conversation very, very impactful.
Oh, it is impactful, Lexi. I
Yeah.
love everything you just said. And Taquita Waffles, who's on YouTube with us, says this is a constant conversation that they have with um, BIPOC colleagues where they
Mhm.
work at. So, constant conversation tends to be in the forefront. And you're absolutely right. It's that definition of what looks professional, right? Does it look like what we have uh, always been told that it's supposed to look like? And I too share with you the excitement around that shift,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
first the awareness, first the openness, and the shift of the fact that wait a minute, what you ingrained or what you tried to socialize, and you did successfully over the years as being successful and professional, uh, is not the case. And we, as Black and Brown people, bodies, I love how you term your terminology for that. Brown bodies, how we have shown up
Mhm.
and denounced it and done it actively, done it in by evidence, not just by talk, not just in, but actually existing and showing up and being comfortable in our own skin and doing it. And I think that's what's been so extremely important in this shift. Now we clearly have a long way to go, but I do share with you the transformation that has started to take place over the past 10 years.
Mhm.
Now, when we talk about professionalism, what success looks like, I noticed you use code switching
Mhm.
What would you say, and maybe even share some of your personal experiences around what would you say about the challenge for someone that looks like you and I and getting clarity around establishing what that means for themselves once they've experienced maybe some backlash, be it in their families, because that
Right.
happens, right? So this stuff doesn't just happen in corporate America alone, doesn't just happen at work alone, happens with our families as well. What would you share with individuals as they're trying to uncover this for themselves? Maybe share some of what your experiences have been.
Yeah, I think the hardest part is actually defining it for yourself because many times
Mm-hmm.
Black and brown bodies are faced with so much racism and misogyny and homophobia and all the isms and phobias that we do not know how to sift through that. And so if you're constantly going to work every day and you're constantly being told, no, tone it down, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, it does become exhausting, like mentally and emotionally taxing to sit there and say, okay, well, in this line, I probably should have toned it down. Or in this space, I was fine, but you're just
Mm-hmm.
racist. Or
Hmm.
as I tell people, just because I'm not your cup of tea does not mean that I'm not somebody else's glass of champagne. So I
Wow.
can be too much for
Yes.
you, and we can honor that in this space. But guess what? That doesn't mean that I'm changing anything that just
Yes.
happened. And so I had to learn that lesson really hard. And how I learned
Mm.
it was I got slapped in the face my first year out of college. I started a job at a tech company and I walked in and I remember there were so many layers to this. There was a lot of imposter syndrome because I did not expect to get this job. Like honestly, even still today, I'm like, the fact that these people hired me is wild. Like, right?
Yes.
Wild. I had no experience. I did not go into college to get into tech. And um, it was a Black leader who saw me in the interview. And I'll never forget, he interviewed me and he looked at me and he said, if you get through this interview, you gonna do some bad things and bad in a good way, right?
We have a
And
good
I
way.
just looked
Yeah,
at him
yeah,
and
yeah.
okay. And I think that he was my conduit into this. And I'm not saying that he
Oh,
gave me a
wow.
job without me having skill. I think that
Sure,
he
sure.
saw transferable skills in me where he was like, if we let her in and we grow her, this could actually be transformative. He
Wow.
just doesn't realize
Wow.
it yet. And so that was my first move. And so I'm walking into this company at 22, like 3 or 4 weeks after college graduation, and not knowing who I am as an adult, period. People forget adulting is hard.
Oh, yeah. Look,
Also
I'm
recognize
like way adult and it's still hard. How about that?
this is hard. Okay.
I'm, it's
Like
still hard. I'm 62 and it's still hard.
they're not teaching this in school. So you have that
No,
layer. You have the
no.
layer that I am keenly aware that I'm like, I
Hmm.
don't know what I am doing. Right.
Right.
Which by the way is not necessarily imposter syndrome. It's just a fact. I had never done this before. So therefore, I do not know what I am doing. Then
Yeah.
there's imposter syndrome because I'm like, well, should I even be here if I know what I'm doing? So what
Right.
did
Right.
I do? I remember I was getting dressed in the first day as an adult and I had these gold hoops. I love gold hoops. And I took them off and I was like, that's too much. So I started code switching before I walked in the door. And then for the first year,
Mm.
I literally mimicked everyone else at work
That you saw.
because I did not know what I was
Oh my
doing.
God.
And for the
Yes.
record, I come from a musical theater background. I come from theater. I come from being on stage. I come
Oh
from the fake it
wow.
till you
Okay.
make it world. And one of the ways that you fake it till you make it is you just copy paste what the girl did in front of you at the audition. So
Wow.
for me, I
Yeah.
was like, that's what we're going to do. Right. And what I didn't realize in that year was as I suffered a lot of depression and a lot of sadness, that a
Mm.
lot of it stemmed from that I was coming to work every day and trying to copy and paste other people doing things because I did not know
Yeah.
any other option. I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
point I even started dressing like my boss. And I had somebody in the cafeteria say, like, you dress like her now. And I was like, whoa, that's
Yeah.
wild because me and her don't get along. Like this got too much, right?
Yeah.
End of my first year, I sit there with my manager for my performance review and I get on a pip. So I spent a year trying to be
Trying to
everyone
be.
else and I almost
Wow.
got fired. And I remember we had the
Wow.
conversation. She definitely put me on a PIP. I did not know what to do with that. Remember, I'm a first year. No one even
Yeah, yeah,
told
yeah.
me how to do a performance review. So to be frank with you, if I ever got a hold of that performance review that I wrote, I would now as a manager would be like, girl, you deserve to be on a PIP. You did not write this about you. Right. But no one told me how to do it.
Sure,
And I
nobody.
was very
Yeah,
again blessed.
exactly, exactly,
There happened to
exactly.
be
Mm.
two men who were leaders in the company who saw me and they were like, we're going to give this girl another chance. I think that there are other factors to why she's on a PIP. Let's give her one more chance. And I remember when I got that other chance and basically got off the PIP, I told myself that I will never be someone I'm not, because whether I
Mm.
decide to pretend to be you and do a bad job at it because I'm not you, or be me, y'all gonna try to fire me anyway. So if I'm gonna go down,
Yes,
I'm gonna go down as me.
as me.
And when I tell you the second year of
Oh
my
my God, that
career,
had to be liberating.
so transformative because I went to
Mm.
work and I was just so liberated. And
Yes.
from that liberation, I started meeting people, mentors, sponsors. There was this group of older Black women that I still today call my fairy godmothers at this job who would take me aside and they would say things like, that was a little bit too much in that room. You can't be yelling at people like that, right? If you want to yell at someone, this is how you do it. Try that. And what I realized in my second year
Wow.
is that when I started showing up as myself, all those people who didn't like me anyway still didn't like me. And that's okay. Right.
Hmm.
In my
Right.
grandmother's voice, she always say they talked about Jesus, what they gonna do to you. So
There we
that's,
go. Exactly.
but all of these people came out the woodwork.
Started
Who were,
gravitating to you.
oh,
Yes.
you're dope. Oh, let me help you. Let me build a
Wow.
relationship with you and build trust with you. So when I give you feedback, you know it comes from a great place. Let me give
Right.
you a safe space where you can practice certain things. Let me teach you how to say things in a way, in a corporate way that gets you what you want. Let me help you influence the room. Put your gold hoops back on, sis,
Wow.
because all those people who didn't like you without the gold hoops, does it
Still,
matter?
exactly.
And that really
Oh
changed
my God, Lexi.
just the way I moved forward ever since then. Was I And since that time, whenever I join a new company, whenever I join a new team, whenever I'm in a new room at the same company with different people, I'm very big on, if I'm not your cup of tea, that does not mean that I'm not somebody else's glass of
Oh,
champagne.
okay,
And I'm
okay,
going to do
okay.
everything in my power to build a
Yes,
wonderful working relationship with you. And for the record, not for you, for me, because
for
y'all not
me.
going to stress me out. Okay. I'm
Yes.
leaving this laptop in peace. So I'm not doing this for you. I'm actually doing it for me. But even after I do all of those things, if for whatever reason you still don't like me, guess what? I'm also going to sleep well at night as well, because I
Exactly.
know that I've done all the things. I've respected you. I
Everything.
have been kind. I've leaned
Yes,
in. And for
yes,
the
yes.
record, that is not code switching. That's called professionalism, and everyone should do it. But what you
Oh
have
my
to
God.
understand is that just because you do that does not mean someone's going to receive it. And that's between them and their God. And I'm okay with that. So when that person in my second year at work said, put the gold hoops back on, and I did,
Mm.
and then I started going to work and I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. All the people that didn't like me before the gold hoops still don't like me, but I'm going home at peace. So the
Mm-hmm.
anxiety's gone, all those things are gone. But then all these
Yes.
other people who I didn't know existed are just gravitating. I'm gonna just go over
Oh,
here to these people and I'm gonna learn
yes.
how to use all these strengths and gifts that God and the ancestors and Harriet Tubman gave me to figure out how to navigate this corporate space
Navigate.
and make it work for me.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
God, Lexi, everything you just said. Oh my, okay. Can I just, I don't even know if I can sit still with all the nuggets you just dropped right there, what you learned in your second year. And it's truly about being comfortable in your own skin, finding your voice, finding your center. And then it's amazing what will happen
Hmm.
when that happens.
Hmm.
I had the same experience, but in a different way. And I constantly tell my clients that I work with, Networking is everything. Leveraging that network, your board, whatever you want to call them, people that step out of the woodwork and show up for you because they see something in you, because you finally let whatever you thought facade down that you thought was needed. You finally let that go and people show up. I'm telling you, I have an MBA from Ross because of that.
See,
Somebody else that saw something in me and decided, you know what, Linda, this company's gonna cut the check for that. Same experience, right? It's so important. But I will tell you, Lexi, you had that experience your second year. I've worked with people that it's 15, 20, 25 years,
mm,
and they still haven't had it.
mm,
They still haven't been able to recognize the potential value in themselves by being themselves. And they get hung up if everybody in the room, if they're not a glass of champagne for everybody in the room. There's no way everybody's gonna like it. I mean, it's just, I mean, that's just basic
and
humanity, right? Like,
I don't
and
have
like
time for
everybody.
it. I don't have time for it. And it's interesting. I thought I didn't have time for it, and then I became a mom this year.
Mm,
And
mm,
I
mm.
remember when my daughter was born, you know, the babies are born, and then you go into this birthing room, which is separate from the room that you birthed, right? And then
Yes.
there's flowers and all these things, and people are all happy for the person who birthed. You're not, you're exhausted, you're in pain, you want everybody to leave. Separate conversation for maybe a separate podcast. Um, and I remember my husband looked at me as I was holding her, and he was like, "So what do you think?" And I looked at him and I was like, "You thought I was militant before? It is on and popping now. It is on and popping now." And I bring that up because I think it's important now as a mother, more than
Yeah, yeah.
anything, that I have to be, number one, what my daughter can't see. And number
Oh.
two, if I'm trying to teach this little human who I lovingly tell people I actually birthed a bougie fairy from Wakanda who's disguised as a little girl. So, yes, that's what's really happening. I have to teach her how to liberate herself, how to be free. And that starts
Mm,
with loving
mm,
yourself, loving
mm.
the imperfections of yourself, working
Yes.
through yourself and being confident in that. But more
Yes.
importantly, you are not here to please everyone. Okay. If anything, I would argue you're not even here to please me. As your earth guide, you are here to please God and your ancestors and yourself. And if other people are pleased by that in the process, that is fabulous.
That is the cherry on top.
Fantastic.
Sure.
But
That's
that's not the
extra.
goal.
That
And
is
so I
not the
think
goal.
that
Absolutely.
before
It's,
giving birth,
oh
I
my
was
God.
definitely also on this mission for me because, again, y'all not going to stress me out. Okay. I've been there, done that, got a t shirt, got several seats. Okay. And through a lot of therapy, um, mental therapy, emotional therapy, financial
Mm,
therapy, which we don't talk enough about in the community. I'm like,
no, we
I've done
don't.
too much work to go back there. So I'm not. But when I held that little girl and the beauty of becoming a parent, the beauty of becoming
Yes.
a girl mom, and
Mm,
also, I'm not going to lie, the anxiety and the fear of having to raise a black little girl
yeah.
who's really a magical
Yeah.
fairy from Wakanda, um, in the society that we're in set in.
Exactly.
And it gets me emotional right now because when we left the hospital, I looked at her and I promised her I will do everything in my power. And I can't control the world, unfortunately.
Right. Right. Right.
But the one thing that I can do and I can control me is you will be raised in a home where you see your mother be her most authentic self, and therefore from that authenticity be free and be at peace. And
Yes,
you will
ma'am.
see that.
Yes, ma'am.
It'll be modeled in front of you every day.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you walk out in this world, whether it's to ballet class, whether it's to swimming, whether it's to basketball, I don't know, wherever you go,
Wherever it is. Yes.
one thing you will never be able to say, and to see is that my mother never showed me that being my most
Be.
authentic self
Yes.
in every space does not liberate me. And if you don't like that authenticity, that is also okay
That's
too.
your problem.
That is a you problem.
That is a you problem.
That is a you
And I
problem.
will share with you, Lexi, from someone who is a mother of a 28-year-old, absolutely what you're doing will set her up beyond what you could even imagine for her, because that's what I did from Alexis, my daughter, as well. It's so extremely important,
Yeah.
especially in our society,
Oh yeah.
especially unfortunately, that they have that strong sense of self,
Self. Yep.
strong sense of
Oh
self.
yeah.
So no
Yeah.
matter whatever situation they're in, that they can rise above that, knowing that they're fully worth every inch of everything
And let me tell you something,
that's
Linda.
coming their way.
What I've learned and is navigating these spaces, and I know that we'll have a part two to really discuss how to do it.
Yes, yes.
It's interesting how many people are terrified of you when you know who you are. And I learned that, and I'm still learning that in my professional career. It's actually enlightening and actually a little funny to me that when people walk in a room and they know who they are, the room shakes.
Yes, it
And the
does.
reason why it shakes is because we live in a society that continues to tell you to not be you, that
That's
continues
right.
to tell you that all of these very deep and powerful, small or mighty identity layers of you, because we
Hmm.
all have thousands of identity
Yes,
layers,
yes, yes,
and some are deeper than others. Every single one of those is attacked every single day.
yes.
And it's interesting to me at work when I can, and I work virtually. I know who I work with who knows who they are. And I know who I work with that are working on it. And I know the folks that don't.
Because
And
doesn't
it's
it show?
so
It
funny
shows.
to me because when you actually look at a corporate space and you are looking for mentors and sponsors and people in power, it is
Hmm.
the people that know exactly who they are
Yes, ma'am.
and who are good at their job that are the ones that actually climb that ladder faster, or as I tell people, are the most successful because they have
Successful.
defined what
Yes,
success is for them and they
yes.
stay in that lane and
And
they are so
stay in
happy.
that.
They
Very
are so
clear about it and stay in it. And Dio, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. They're on LinkedIn. She said, "Me, I'm shy to switch my wigs at work. Let me go grab my little Afro wig." Yes, girlfriend, get
yeah,
the Afro wig. If
yes.
that is who you are, get it, wear it, walk in it proudly, unapologetic. As I tell my daughter, I don't apologize for nothing. Unapologetically show up. And I'm gonna tell you, speaking from I mean, at 62, born in a different era, I didn't get to where I I said maybe when I was 40 is when it switched for me. Transformational for me was when it was 40. So it took a minute, right? And it was a lot of hard work to get there. But I'm gonna tell you, baby, when
When
I
you get there,
got
you can't
there,
go back. When you get there, you can't go back. You can't. And it's just,
because I clearly know
oh
who
yeah,
I am. I'm
yeah.
extremely comfortable with the dark skin, the lazy eye, the whatever you see. I absolutely love me, totally, completely comfortable, know what success looks like for me. And as you said, Lexley, so beautifully, create that lane and path, stay in it, and you go. And I also totally agree with you. You can tell who's comfortable with
Oh
who they
yeah,
are when you're in the, oh, it's very evident. It's
yeah.
very
And
evident.
it's
And that,
infectious. It's infectious.
oh, it can be infectious.
And honestly,
Yes.
when you talk about leadership, because I do think that at some point you have to talk about aligning yourself to a leader who aligns to you. I have worked
Yes.
for many people. I have worked for the whole spectrum, bad leaders, good leaders, in between.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
interesting to me, the ones that I get along with the most, the ones that mentor me and sponsor me the most, the
Hmm.
ones that are really in my corner are the ones that know themselves and have also figured out how to use my authenticity to not only help them but the team.
Yes. Exactly.
So
And
like
isn't
the
that magical when they do that?
it's
Especially if it's a
amazing.
white man. I've had white men do that. And that thing is amazing.
I've had
Yes,
more white
ma'am.
men
That's
do
the
that than
word.
white women, but that's a separate conversation. But
Oh, yeah.
but
We
and
got a
that's
lot
what
of
I really
conversations.
that's why I really empower black and brown bodies to do it because again, you are going to have people who don't like it. And that's
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Yes.
Bless their heart.
It is.
But when you
Oh my
start
God. Yes.
doing
Oh
it,
my God.
you are going to find the people, regardless of color, but have power that are like, oh, come do that over here. Do
Yes.
exactly, no notes, 10 out of 10. Do exactly that. And by the way,
Yes.
if someone says you're wrong, call me.
Call me.
Call me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
And
ma'am.
if you the sooner you can find that in your career, the farther you will go in your career.
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
Lexi.
and people need to know
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes. Such great advice. The sooner you find those types of people, the better you are, the better off you are. It's so important. And they exist,
They
but
do.
it starts with the work that you do here.
It does. It does. Because when you
Starts
start
with the
doing that, they will see you. They'll be like, so I heard
uh,
that you
yes,
said this
ma'am.
to this person, and then you think you're in trouble. And they're like, no, I loved it. So if your manager doesn't love it, call me. Call me. The number of times
Oh,
that people have literally just hit me up on the side and been like, so when you're done with that, call me. If you're ever upset, call me. If
call
you're
me.
thinking about something new, call me,
Oh my
because
gosh.
they see me and I see me. And so the
Yes.
sooner you show people who you are and show yourself who you are, the sooner you're going to find those people
Yes.
who will not only sponsor it, but they will also mentor it. They will pay for it. They'll pay top dollar for it. They'll pay more
Yes,
than
they will.
equity for it.
Yes, they will. Yes, they
And
will.
they will protect it. And that's
Yes,
what
they
you need,
will.
because you deserve some
And
peace.
they will, and I'm gonna tell you what else they'll do. They'll take every roadblock out of your way. I'll tell this short story to connect what you just said, and then we're gonna end for this session. I'm telling y'all, I know you are. I know right now that you can't even breathe with everything Lexi just dropped because this was phenomenal. I'm gonna tell this story. I had the same thing happen to me. I just had this boss that, for whatever reason, block, just I mean, difficult, and I was considering leaving. And I had somebody in that top floor that they all sat in, it was actually his peer, come to
Mm,
my office one day and said, hey, Linda, you've never said this to me, but I get the feeling you're thinking about leaving. And I
mm,
just kind of looked at him and he said, because it's been ridiculous. He said, I've seen it. And he grabbed my notebook. He wrote, flipped it over, wrote a date in the back. He
mm.
said, don't make a decision till that date. And that's all he said. And he walked out my office.
That's all we needed to
Well,
know.
two months before that date, somebody came by my office and said, hey, your boss is leaving. I said, what? So I go upstairs and I was like, hey, I didn't know you were looking. Congratulations. He says, I wasn't. He said, I wasn't looking. He said, but my last day's today. So I wish you well. I went back to my office, sat down, and I was like, okay, wait a minute. That person that came and wrote in the back of my notebook, he came to my office. He said, man, I was 2 months off. Roadblock gone, gone. From that point on, at that company, choo, roadblock gone. So everything you just said, I
Mm,
need all y'all to hear. Everything she said is true. That it started, it can be experienced. You can experience it. It starts though with getting real with yourself, comfortable with yourself, showing up in your wonderful, beautiful, phenomenal authenticity, killing it like you can kill it, and they will come. They will come.
they will. They will.
Lexi, this has been everything.
Thank
This is
you.
everything I knew it
I'm
was
so
going to be.
excited.
Okay, okay, everyone that's listening, we got a lot of people. I'm getting all these all these chats in here. You do not want to miss it. 2 weeks from now, she's going to be back with part two, and then we're going to focus in part two on actionable steps you can take if you're struggling one with understanding and how to navigate a room. We're going to talk about that. If you are struggling with what defining success for yourself, how do I even start understanding how to define what success looks like for me so that I successfully navigate the room? That's what part two is going to be all about. You do not want to miss it. Again, Lexi, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Of course.
Wonderful. It
Yeah.
has been